I'm Nick Snow, watching Government for Oil and Gas Journal in Washington, D.C. The silly season arrived earlier than usual in Washington, undoubtedly because gasoline prices soared, and many members of Congress, before taking a 2-week recess, felt their constituents' pain more than usual because it's an election year. Committee leaders began gasoline price hearings by declaring there are no quick fixes. And then they asked experts who were invited to testify if they could think of any. Some federal lawmakers arrived with their own answers and barked, "Just answer yes or no," when a witness tried to explain. Nuance was routinely lost amid the obvious political posturing. It fortunately can be found in the witness's written testimony, which became part of the permanent record. There are real questions, for example, about whether refineries on the U.S. East and West coasts will have access to growing crude oil supplies from Alberta's oil sands and U.S. tight oil formations beyond the Bakken in North Dakota and Montana. The difference between North American and North Sea Brent crude prices was enough to have influenced decisions to close or sell several East Coast and Caribbean refineries. Operators of West Coast plants, which process crude from Alaska's North Slope, meanwhile, viewed declining volumes moving through the Trans-Alaska pipeline system with growing concern. Right now, there is no non-U.S., non-Canadian oil in the middle of the U.S., Lucian Pugliarese, president of Energy Policy Research Foundation Incorporated, said during a March 21st House Natural Resources Committee hearing. It's the East and West coasts which rely heavily on waterborne transportation. If we could solve that, the situation would be improved, he continued. Some have suggested that it might be necessary to waive the Jones Act requirement that U.S.-flagged vessels be used to transport petroleum between U.S. ports. The American Maritime Partnership, in a March 14th letter to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, said that EIA's February report on refinery activity and northeastern oil product markets underestimated U.S. tank vessel capacity by more than half. The report addressed only American tankers, but not all tank vessels, including tank barges, which are a primary means of transporting petroleum products in the U.S., it said. We believe that once all Jones Act tank vessel capacity is considered, EIA will find that there is ample American vessel capacity to address changes in petroleum product markets as a result of Northeast refinery closures. Other industry observers agree that the vessel capacity is there, but add that practically all of it is under contract and would not be available for 2 or 3 years. Additional pipeline capacity to move products from the Gulf Coast, where refineries are expanding instead of closing, is a more permanent solution, as EIA's initial report in November suggested. Policies to encourage more domestic crude production and increase imports from Canada would be even better than seeking some quick and politically expedient fix. That's Watching Government for this week. In Washington, I'm Nick Snow for Oil and Gas Journal.